All right, welcome to How to Make Your Email Life Suck Less. Those of you that have been here early, thank you for joining early. Check your sound so you can hear me. Adjust your volume so it's comfortable. Sounds to me like it's working from the feedback I've had already. Close off those other programs that are running, even shut down your email at the moment. Let's get that out of the way and grab a pen and paper. There'll be a lot of information in this session. It is basically half an hour of content with some time for Q&A at the end. So I will go to the title page, How to Make Your Email Life Suck Less, Stress-Free Emailing for Fun and Productivity. This is a bespoke or a created session for this free webinar. We run a full session called Getting Your Inbox to Zero, but I've taken the best bits out of that. So I'm really excited about this session because it is actually full of really valuable, really useful content. I hope you enjoy it. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Cowdroy. There's me dressed as a ninja. I don't do that very often, but I did it once for a trade show and it was definitely worth taking a photo of. If you want to connect with me, you're very welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn and with the business on Facebook and Instagram. So grab a screenshot of this page or a photo of this page if you'd like to have my contact details. If you have any questions after this session, you can always send me an email. Very happy to help with whatever questions you may have around productivity, stress management, etc. So once again, welcome. Now, I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we all meet today. I'd like to acknowledge the elders past, present, and emerging. And I'd like to thank them for their custodianship of this land for many thousands of years. Welcome everyone, and let's get into the session. I own and run a business called Think Productive Australia. Think Productive Australia is part of a global business, Think Productive, founded in the UK, and this is our vision. The bit that I love to talk about here is we're creating a world where no one dreads Monday mornings. That's what it's all about. We are creating a world where people love their work. We're creating a world where work is full of purpose, clarity, and focus. This is what gets me up every day, I have to be honest. This is what really gives me so much satisfaction in what I do. And I really appreciate all of you sharing your time with me and everyone else here today to talk about emails. The business is based on the book, How to Be a Productivity Ninja. For those of you that don't know this already, How to Be a Productivity Ninja was written by Graham Alcott. This is an absolutely fantastic book, and Graham started the business. I bought this book about 7 years ago, having had a fairly long 20-odd year, pretty stressful life in corporate world. I bought this book and I loved it so much that I bought the rights to Graham's training material for Australia, New Zealand, and Asia. Well, we're covering Asia at the moment, and have been doing this for about 6 years now. My official title is Productivity Ninja. Now, just so you know, you will all get access to our Productivity Ninja Academy after today's session. You'll get an email later today, it'll probably be tonight actually, with your membership to that. You'll get a 1-month membership. You can also download a copy of the book in there for free. There's no charge for that 1 month. We don't ask for your credit card details or anything to get access. So get in there, have a look around. There's some really good resources in there as part of our blended learning or e-learning offer that we offer to all our clients as part of our workshops. So once again, welcome. And I want to use the chat now. I'd love you all to open up the chat box, change the setting in the chat to all panelists and attendees rather than just all panelists. So everyone can see what you're putting in the chat. And I'd love to just hear from you via the chat how email is affecting your work and your well-being. How does email make you feel? Just 1 or 2 words. There's obviously a reason why you're here today. There's a reason why you'd like to make your email life suck less. So thank you, Kristen. And yep, you've already changed that setting. Thank you, all panelists and attendees. Rules my day, overwhelmed, sometimes stressful. Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Anne. Sometimes stressful, and it does rule my day. I completely agree. If we don't get on top of it. Any more responses here? There's Sharon. Hi, Sharon. Too many subscriptions, too much, says Kerry. I understand. It's a blessing and a curse. Yeah. Email's great. There's no doubt email is great, but it also is a curse Feels like you have to react to incoming messages straight away and keep getting interrupted. That'll be a big part of what I'm talking about today. No system. You will have a system after today, Catherine. Thanks for sharing that. Now, I'll let the rest of these comments come through. You can all have a read. I don't want to chew up too much time reading what's already coming through here, but they're all of a similar vein, I think. Now, while I've got you all at the keyboard, let's do a quick poll. And this will be probably the last piece of real interaction I'll be asking from you. So then you'll be able to relax and listen to what I've got to share. But I'm curious to know, what is your current email habit? You'll see a poll on the screen now. I'm curious to know how often you're checking your email, basically. And you know, there's no right or wrong answer at the moment, because this is just how we do it at the moment. I'm curious to know how you do this. So we've got, yeah, about 60% of people have voted so far. I'll share the responses with you in a minute or in less than a minute. Okay, here we go. Now you should be able to see these results now. I check it often. 75% of you check it often, more than once an hour. That's normal. We always see a response like that. 20% of you check it every 1 to 2 hours, and 10% of you check it only a few times a day. So the really common response here is most people are checking their email pretty much all the time. This is something we're going to talk about in this session, and something that I want you to consider changing. This is something to really start challenging your own mindset with. So let's get into some of the content. I want to talk about the issues of email first, and then the structure of this is I'll be giving you what I call quick wins. I've taken the best bits out of our Inbox to Zero workshop, and I'll give you the best quick wins that will give you a 1, a 5, a 10% improvement in your productivity straight away. We'll be talking about why you should have a zero inbox and how to achieve that. And I'll just be having some opportunity for questions at the end. So the issues with email, there's a lot of detail here, and I won't go into all of this. What I want you to really focus on this screen is the underline bit. On average, 40% of an 8-hour day is spent on work email. 40% of our day is spent on email, and email's only part of our job. Email is only the communication piece. Email's not really what we're supposed to be doing. So 40% of our day is spent on that. So we want to reduce that as quickly and as much as we possibly can. Email causes a lot of interruption, particularly if you've got those notifications turned on. Email causes a lot of interruption, and email also is quite inefficient. In many types of communication, email is inefficient. That backwards, forwards email, trying to find a time to meet maybe, trying to get an answer on something, updating documents and email them to each other. It's inefficient, it's long-winded. There's better ways of doing this. So this is where email, these are the issues with email I'm talking about here. Once again, a lot of stats here. I won't focus on these too much, but the key thing here is we're very connected. 52% of responses to this particular survey check emails before work. So we start working before we're even working, and we're over checking our email. You can see the last point here. Over checking email wastes 21 minutes a day. And on average, we're checking our emails 15 times a day. So for those of you that said you're checking emails pretty much all the time, this is normal. But who wants to be normal, right? Who wants to be normal? Let's get better. Let's be better than normal. So I want to share with you some really quick wins. How to suddenly make your email practices better. And then I'll get into a bit more detail for you. Quick wins, turn off the notifications. This is the quickest, most powerful win you can possibly get. We don't need a notification coming up on our screen telling us we've just received an email. We know we're receiving emails, right? So we really don't need that notification. So turn that off. Go into your settings, turn that off. It'll be different depending on which setting you're using, or which software you're using, sorry. If you need any help with that, once again, contact me and I'll give you some help with that. Now, another big quick win with our emails is our mindset. So a lot of you have been sharing what's causing stress. A lot of you are checking your emails all the time. Now, I want to challenge you on that. I want you to start thinking differently. I love the phrase, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So here's what I recommend you change. a new email mindset. Don't constantly check. And this says whenever email tells you to, but often it's just ourselves telling us to check our email. So don't constantly check. Every time we check our email, what happens? More stress, more work. Okay, sometimes there's good news. It's like, yeah, a little celebration, but most of the time it's just more work. So don't constantly check. Instead of checking, process in batches. Maybe once an hour or once every 2 hours, like some of you were doing. Great work, by the way. Process in batches. And in between those batches, we turn our emails offline. And I'm about to show you how to do that. Don't assume you have to reply. We can probably just file or delete most emails. So this is a big change. This is something to really start to get into your body is I'm going to change my mindset around this. Don't constantly check. The word check should be a 4-letter word. Don't use the word check. I'm not going to check my emails. I'm going to process. Now, a key tip here is turning your Outlook offline. This is if you're using Outlook. Other systems, Gmail, it's a little bit more complex. Other systems can be a bit more complex. Once again, contact me if you want help. A lot of people are using Outlook. Now, the button there at the top of the screen, you can see this work offline button. This is an absolute game changer. And once again, a quick win. It's under the send receive menu. When you click that button, Outlook goes into kind of flight mode. There's no more new emails coming in. There's no new emails going out, but it functions normally, just like you are on a plane, the good old days of being on a plane, right? What we should be doing is having our Outlook offline all the time and then just going back online, maybe once an hour, once every 2 hours to let those new emails come in. The good thing about this is you can still be using your email because I could say, shut your email down and don't look at it for an hour. But the problem is you might be writing a report or doing some analysis or preparing something for someone, and you need to go to Outlook to find some information. Now, when we go in there, there will always be new emails unless you're turned offline. And those new emails, they're like a drug. We just can't resist those new emails. So when it's offline, you can go into Outlook and those new emails won't be there. It's like you've closed the door to the office and they just can't come in yet. It's beautiful. Now, am I a little bit passionate about this? No, I'm a lot passionate about this. This is an absolute game changer. So these are your quick wins, absolute quick wins that can make such a big difference. Now, just be aware of mobile emails. Someone mentioned in the chat, emails are a blessing and a curse. It's the same with emails on mobile devices. They're a blessing and a curse. Take it off if you can. If you can live without email on your mobile device, take it off. It's just not necessary. And it causes this, once again, causes this constant checking. It is a real addiction. We need to be really, really clear with ourselves on this. CCs, this is the final quick win. Just checking my notes because these slides are not normal slides. These are from our various workshops. I've pulled them together for today's session. So beware of CCs. Every time you include a lot of CCs on your email, you will get a lot of responses as well. So this is a good thing to think about. I like the saying, you get the email you deserve. So that's pretty harsh, but if you send a lot of emails, including CCs, you'll get a lot of emails back. So this is something to think about. In our Getting Your Inbox to Zero workshop, we talk about a CC rule as well, where you can set up a rule to automatically file CCs into a folder. And there's a few little tricks with that. So once again, let me know if you're interested in more information on that. Why zero? What's the point of having a zero inbox? So how to make your email life suck less is to have a zero inbox, is to have a good process, a good way of staying on top of your inbox and getting your inbox to zero. The workshop we run will get you there. Now, today, I'm not here to sell you anything and I'm not here to give you any special offers or anything. I'm just mentioning where you can get the information. The problem is not information overload, says David Allen, but potential meaning overload. This is a really good way to think about our emails. It's not that there's so much information in there. Yes, that's pretty stressful, but emails also cause stress around the meaning that's attached to them. We make up stories. Every time we see an email, we make up a story about that email. I'd like to explain this a little bit. Imagine that 2 weeks ago, there was an issue and there was a problem with a colleague or a client, and you had to sort it out, and you sorted it out. It was okay. It's all finished now. If those emails are still in your inbox and you keep seeing them as you scroll up and down looking for emails that you choose to work on, you'll keep getting those emotions coming back. You'll keep thinking about that thing over and over again. So this is why we're better off getting those old emails out of the inbox. It becomes mental clutter, mental chatter, mental noise. So it's really good to have this zero inbox, because if your inbox looks like this, it's just stressful. This is the bottom line. Now, chapter 4 in the book, the Productivity Ninja book, which I've got a copy here. Chapter 4 in this book will give you the email process. And as I mentioned, you can download a digital version of that from the Productivity Ninja Academy. So if you want to go deeper on this, read chapter 4 in the book. It'll get you there. Now that's a zero inbox. Everyone take a breath. Really, take a breath. Isn't that nice? When we have a zero inbox, we really can start to feel more calm. And the thing is, you can get there. I've helped hundreds or thousands of people do this. You can get there, okay? That's what it looks like in Gmail. If you're a Gmail user, a zero inbox. So I want to share with you how to get to zero. And the next section will be, how do we stay at zero? Firstly, I just want to check in with everyone using the chat here. Oh, it looks alien, it does, Sharon. Thank you for that. Just a quick check-in. This is a little game I like to play in workshops to see how much of your attention I've managed to hold. I want you to put a number in the chat between 1 and 5. 5 is that I've got you totally focused. 1 is that I'm in the background, and somewhere in the middle is also okay. But I'm curious to know how many 5s, 4s, 3s we've got. 5 is I've got you totally focused. We're as low as a 3. Okay, fair enough. I've had the odd one. Okay, thank you. That's just like a little trick, little wake up, if you like, in the middle of a session, just to get a little bit of interaction from you all. I love that, Catherine. Thank you too, but it doesn't mean I'm not enjoying it. Thank you for that. All right, how do we get to zero? 4 simple stages. We need to set up some folders. We need to get ready. We need to turn off those notifications. Basically, get the software set up so it's ready for us. Then we do a hacking phase, which is moving big chunks of email. Then we go through one by one and clear out the final 100 or 200 emails. And then we finish and we have a little party. Now, we're not doing this today because this is a short session, but I'll take you through the processes here, take you through each stage. So we set up, and these are the folders we recommend. This is the crux, this is the gold. We recommend setting up these 3 processing folders because your emails need somewhere to go from the inbox. Now, I recommend a 4th folder. This is the official Think Productive process here. I always like to recommend a 4th folder, which I call Z, because if it's sorting alphabetically, the Z will put at the bottom, Z completed, or Z finished, or some people call it like Z big bucket. Just a folder where you put all the emails when you're finished with them. Now, the emails go from your inbox to these folders or to the big bucket, or they get deleted. The action folder is like your to-do. Emails you need to come back to and work on. So when you've got your zero inbox, then you just go to the action folder with your Outlook turned offline and you work through the action folder. That's how we get it done. The read folder is for future reading. Now, to me, this becomes a bit like the pile of magazines in the corner of the office that I don't always read, but I know they're there. So for me, if it's really important that I read an email, it goes in the action folder because that's more like an action for me that I have to read that email. The waiting folder is if I'm waiting for something to come from someone else. So I might get an email saying, I'll get that to you by next Wednesday. I just want to keep a track of that. Or I might send an email saying, can you do this for me? I want to keep a track of that. Now there's some tips and tricks and some rules to automate some of these processes, but I haven't got time to go through all that today. But that waiting folder can be a helpful place just to keep track of things. And once again, then there's the 4th folder, Z complete or Z file. That's where we put everything when we've finished with it. And under that, not too many subfolders. Too many subfolders causes a lot of stress. Too many subfolders wastes our time filing, and it generally wastes our time finding things because we click through all those subfolders. That's why the complete or big bucket folder is so good. We can dump all our emails in there. If you're a Gmail user, you can use the archive. But if you're an Outlook user, the big bucket's good because archive, if you had a folder called archive or something, it gets a bit confusing with the archiving process of Outlook. Getting a bit techie there, but not too many subfolders. I've seen people with hundreds of subfolders and that causes a lot of stress. If you're using Gmail, use the archive, use labels. It's a little bit different to Outlook, but if you're a Gmail user, you'll know all that. So we set it up, set up the folders, turn the notifications off. Then we get into hacking. So hacking is when we are moving big chunks of emails. If you've got hundreds or thousands of emails in your inbox, we need to hack. Hack is moving big chunks. The first thing I like to suggest, sort by date and move everything that's older than 4 weeks into that completed folder or that big bucket folder. Just get rid of it all. You're not deleting it, you're just moving it. Then sort by person and look through by person and you'll find groups of things that you can delete or move. Then sort by subject and see if there's groups about certain subjects that you can delete or move emails. Now we do this hacking process to be moving lots of emails at any point in time. And then you should get down to probably a couple of hundred emails and you can start going one by one. When we go one by one, I can see a question in the chat there. I'll come to that shortly. When we go one by one, it's a matter of just moving them to those folders, action, read, waiting, or complete. The other thing I want to mention is if it's something you can just do really quickly, like in less than 2 minutes, just do that thing. Just get it done. There's no point filing that email into the action folder and then just coming back to it later. Now let me just check what's in the chat here. Do you have any tips on searching to find things in the big bucket? I spend a lot of time looking for the old email, so I have far too many subfolders. Yeah, it's interesting. Thanks for that question, Shannon. The little story I like to tell here is think about your sent folder. I'll say no one, there might be one in 10,000. No one files their sent emails, but if we go into our sent folder, we can generally find an email we've sent fairly quickly. So the big bucket is similar. Going to that big bucket, we can use a similar process. Look by who it's from, look by the subject, look by the date. Now, if you click on the search button in Outlook, you get extra features. You can say, does it have an attachment? Does the subject contain a word or does the body contain some words? Using the search more smart makes a difference. And in Gmail, the search is really good, but in Gmail, the search is complicated. Of course, it's good because it's Google, and Google are the kings and queens of search, right? So it's good, but it's a bit complicated to use. So it's really good to look at some YouTube videos or something, or just contact me and I'll help you. Honestly, I'll help you. It's really good to just do a bit of research on that and upskill on our searching. Thanks for that, Shannon. Great question. Then we process one by one. Just put them in those folders. Now, the thing is, you might find an email that freaks you out a little bit when you're doing this process. It's okay. We've all missed emails. We've all forgotten to do things. Don't freak out too much. Just send them an email, send the person an email, ask them if they still need this thing, apologize that you haven't done it yet. And what will they normally say? No, don't worry. That was 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, case closed. So that it's like, if you do find this email that freaks you out, just don't worry too much. There's a nice earthy image for you, Kerry. All right, completion, then we finish. You will get to 0, and I promise you it feels great. When we do this with groups of people, especially when we do it live, but we can do it virtually, and I get the same sense of virtually. I see people's shoulders drop when they get to 0. And I have a little joke, which is, you look younger, you look 10 years younger, and people do. I absolutely guarantee you that stress relief feels really good. Now, are there any questions? That was a great question from Shannon. So I've been through the process of how to get to 0. I will be sharing a little bit more about mindset, about how to stay at 0. As I mentioned, this is an express session, but it actually has really good content from our other workshops. Thanks, Sharon. The biggest shift was turning off notifications. We can turn off the notifications on the computer, on the phone. I've also turned off notifications on my phone for SMSs. it's interesting once you start thinking about notifications, how many things are distracting us. And part of our productivity ninja training is talking about distractions. Like we're trying to work and these things just keep distracting us. No questions there? All right, I'll talk about how we stay at zero. This is like our ongoing process. And one more comment or question here. I've had my notifications turned off for ages, yeah. Thanks, Mark. Good to see your name, by the way, Mark. Thanks to finding Graham's book many years ago. Wow, you might have even found it before me, Mark. Fantastic. And Alana says, I've used the waiting folder setup, but struggle to manage to come back and follow up on that later. Yeah, that's a good point, Alana. All of these folders need some management. They need our attention. So whatever we set up, like any process, whatever process or procedure we set up, we need to stick with it. A good way to do that is make it part of your weekly review. Weekly review is something we talk about in our productivity ninja training. The weekly review is once a week, just catching up on our stuff. Once a week, catching up. Some of you have heard me talk about our second brain. So catching up with our second brain or our to-do list and catching up with these other folders is also good. How do I deal with the separation anxiety of deleting email from mobile devices? Yeah, Adrian. Taking email off our mobile devices, there is separation anxiety, I agree. What do you do with the time? Oh, wow. When you're waiting for that coffee, when you're sitting on the bus, when you're sitting on the train, whatever it is. Good opportunity to look around you, see what's going on. Yeah, take a few breaths, acknowledge that separation anxiety could be real, you know? So you'll get used to it. You'll get used to it. But if you can take your email off your mobile device, it's a good start. Once with all these things, remember, you can always put it back on. You know, everything is reversible. So it's about just having this willingness to try. So how do we stay at zero? You've already seen this. There's a couple of repetitive slides here because it's important. How do we stay at zero? Turn off the notifications because the notifications are just a distraction. Process, don't check, because every time we check, we're just leaving emails in there and we're not processing and getting to zero. Turn the Outlook offline. So you've seen all this, but I wanted to remind you, this is how we stay at zero. Now, a new slide here. Remember what the emails are for. Email is just a communication tool. It's not the emails we're sending that are creating impact. It's what you do. It's your actions that create impact. Life happens outside of email. So this is a really good thing to think about. The difference you make, the impact you have is not in your inbox, is not in your email. So get in there, process it, sort it out, do it, turn it offline and get on with life. Make a phone call, talk to someone, write a report, do something creative. Whatever your job is, we can get on with it once we've sorted out those emails. Emails just become something we process through rather than where we live. Now, there's a guy called Merlin Mann who's a very controversial productivity founder. I think he launched his first productivity website in 2004, if not before that. He talks about making sandwiches and not just taking orders. He talks about working in a sandwich shop, and if all you did was take orders from everyone and you got all the different sandwich orders from everyone and kept collecting all the orders, but you never actually turned around and started making the sandwiches, this is what our life is like if we just keep doing email, and not actually getting on and doing our work, okay? So I hope that little story helps as well. Now, there's a lot going on in the chat here, so I've got another slide here for questions. Let's see what's going on. What is your suggestion for personal email subscriptions, etc., that aren't work-related? Is it simply have a personal email for personal mail? Yeah, I have a personal email. I've got 3 emails. I've probably got more than 3, some that I've even forgotten about. My work one, my personal one, and then just a couple of dummy emails even that like a Yahoo email that I use when a website says you have to put in your email address. I put in my Yahoo email that's not even my name, and I never look in that inbox. So it is good to have some separate email addresses. You don't want too many because it gets crazy. There's another comment here. Thanks, Sharon. I find I call people more often now. A quick call takes away a lot of emails. It absolutely does. Yeah. I've added an event and meetings folder under actions folder. Yeah. So we can definitely have some folders. So this idea of those folders I was talking about were the processing folders. We can still have some filing, but just not too many. It's good to have that one folder, the big bucket or the completed folder. If you need a couple more for events, or if we ever travel again, travel plans, itineraries, bookings, I always find it handy having a travel folder because that's where you can go and find things. Now, making it stick. So we've been through all that, the quick wins, how to get to zero, how to stay at zero, and you know how to do that now. So just a couple of final wrap-up points. Remember, if you want refreshment of this content, have a look in the Productivity Ninja Academy. You'll get your membership email tonight. There's a course in there. There's like a 40-minute video course that takes you through this process. And as I say, it's all free. It's all complimentary for a month after doing today's session. In there, there's courses, there's the productivity library, all sorts of different tips and tricks in there. You can connect with us on Instagram and Facebook. We're always posting a lot of thought-provoking productivity encouragement there. Our theme for February is going to be love, because it's Valentine's month, how we love our productivity. We've got a whole range of other workshops that we offer. This workshop I've done today was a bit of a hybrid. It's not a specific workshop we offer, but it's obviously a big chunk of our Getting Your Inbox to Zero workshop. But at the moment, we're running workshops to help people working from home and also with flexible and hybrid working, because now we're not just working from home. People are starting to return to the office. Virtual meetings, we can support your teams with that. Leading remote teams, and now that's moving more to leading hybrid or flexible teams. We can support you with all that. We've got a whole range of other productivity related workshops that we can help with. And that's the session. I promised it would be only half an hour of content because I didn't want to have to keep you locked up in this virtual room for too long. But if there's any more questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. I'm happy to stay around and talk. But there are my contact details if you want to contact me afterwards. I hope that's been really useful. I have recorded this session and I will send that out with a follow-up email so you can always watch the key bits again at any time that you like. I really want to thank you all for joining. Time is precious. Our attention is very precious. If I could support any of you or your businesses or your teams in any way, please reach out and let me know. Today was really about just giving value, supporting people at the start of 2021. How do you make this stuff stick, Matt? One tip, please. Oh, what a great question. Can I tell a bit of a story? I like stories. Okay, I'll tell a little story. I answered my own question. Often we are asked at Think Productive as productivity ninjas, what's the one thing? What's the one thing to do that will help me with my productivity? And the sad thing is there's not really just one thing. There's not really just one thing, but what we're looking for are things that give us a 1 or a 2 or a 5% improvement in our productivity. So we're looking for all the little things. The one thing, but I am going to answer your question, Anne, but I'm thinking as I talk. What's the one thing? Just to keep working on it. There we go, Mark's. Let me ask people that are still here. What would be your one tip to make this stick? I've obviously got my thoughts, but thanks, Mark, just to keep working on it. I would say, Anne, the one thing to make it stick is get to zero. Like put aside 2 or 3 hours or less, depending on how you do it, but get to zero. Set up the folders, embrace the process. As I said before, you can always undo it. So my one tip would be get to zero. See what it feels like. Obviously, I want to then say, turn off the notifications, process, don't check, but I've already said all that, so I won't repeat that. Here are some other tips. Thank you. Thanks, Kristen. Manage your boss's expectations on how frequently you will check your emails. Yeah, that's a really good point. It's important to have a conversation. We run a workshop called Email Etiquette, where we have a conversation on communications etiquette, which is how often do I need to respond to emails? How quickly? What's an expected response time? Often a lot of us have an unrealistic self-imposed deadline that we need to be responding to our emails within 5 or 10 minutes. Now that's causing a lot of stress. So we need to change not only our own mindset, but our team agreements on that. Some great tips coming through. Thanks. I love the brains trust. Let your team know your new way of working too. Great point, Catherine. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Get to zero this week. If you get to zero as a result of this workshop, please let me know. Are there any more questions? Emails are an addiction, so keep following the process and eventually you will realize life is better with a zero inbox. Life is better with a zero inbox. Yes, it really is. Thanks, Matt. Thanks. And off topic. Oh, thanks, Shannon. Does Productivity Ninja have a course on effective folder file setup on shared team networks? We can run a session on that, Shannon. It's not a specific course we would just pull off our shelf. What I would recommend we do with that is run our Productivity Ninja session and get everyone thinking about productivity. And we can bolt onto that just a short team discussion, brainstorming, just a bit of consulting after that to work on that idea. Very powerful question, and it's coming up a lot. So yes, we can help with that, particularly with MS Teams and Microsoft Planner, and people are starting to use all these different things now. So let's have a chat about that. Shannon can definitely help. Ben, I'm worried about out of sight, out of mind. If I use the folder system, interested in your thoughts. It's a good point, Ben. It is out of sight, out of mind. This is why we need some reminders. Our weekly review, as I mentioned, is a good process. You'll find information on that in the Academy. The weekly review is a good process to remind us to go and look at those other folders. You can also just have a reminder, stick something on your wall or in the front of your diary or something to work in those folders. I like to say live in action, as in live in the action folder, don't live in the inbox. The other thing is if you turn the Outlook offline, you'll get bored because we're addicted to the stimulation of new emails coming in. So when the Outlook's offline, you'll be bored and your mind will want you to go and look at the action folder. So a really key thing there is this concept of turning the Outlook or the Gmail or the whatever offline. But it's a good question, Ben, and it is a risk. It's an inherent risk. Adrian, I have more subfolders in my inbox than emails. It's becoming my defectors filing system. Assume your 3 to 4 folders is all you have. That's right, Adrian. Like so many people have so many subfolders and it's just a huge distraction. It's a huge unnecessary thing that we do. A lot of people, not a lot, I've seen some people that have a folder for each person who sends them emails. It's like, there's no point doing that because we can just sort by person or filter by person. Yes, 3 to 4 folders is all I have. In my whole business, I don't have any folders because I know if I'm looking for something from a client or something I've sent to a client, I just search and I find it. So there's no folders for the actual running of the business, if you like. Bizarre, hey? They all just go into that big bucket. Good question here, I think from Anne. If you mark emails unread, you will see a highlighted folder title. If you mark emails unread. Oh, okay, yeah. So if you mark the emails in the action folder unread, yeah, that's a good idea. And you can, I think it's just right click, mark all unread, because in a sense, those action emails still need to be actioned. So you could mark them unread. Then the folder will be highlighted, or as you put them in the action folder. Good point. Little tip for those of you that are still here, at the top of your Outlook screen is something called Quick Steps. Quick Steps, which is on the home screen at the top, you can set up some quick steps. They're like quick steps. They're like little macros. They can be really helpful for turning things read, unread, even filing. You could have it file it in the action folder and make it unread, for example. So have a look at Quick Steps. Let me know if you need any help with any of that. We've still got quite a few people on the line just listening for more tips, I guess. Are there any more questions? Let them come. Questions or comments? We've covered a lot there. Thank you for those questions. They really add some depth to the content. The content is what to do, and then it's like a FAQ, isn't it? All these things that we need to worry about. Thanks, Lisa. I really appreciate that. One of the things we talk about at Think Productive is taking in the good, and it's always interesting running sessions like this when I'm basically talking to a computer screen. But I love all your comments in the chat, and I really appreciate you all joining and sharing with each other as well. Definitely going to read the book.
Could you try again?
Definitely. Why is my Siri turned on? The phone should have been on flight mode. My apologies. All right, some lovely comments coming in. Any further questions? If anyone wants help, let me know. I'll stop the recording now anyway. But if you want to ask a question, you're very welcome.